Hello there, welcome back. Today, 24. The mark off the last one. Day 24, we're talking about My Girl. We're going to revisit this movie that I did in my first birth month. Here we are 5 years later. Well, 4 years later, actually, because it was 2020. 2020 was 4 years ago? Wow. Anyway, 4 years later, we are talking about it again because, I was technically in my infancy at the time. Wasn't into the current style, didn't have my current ratings that I do now. So I'm going back and I'm redoing some of these. I had too many animated films, so I had to go and I had to make up some stuff at the very end. So, yeah. I do have one more animated film, but it's okay because it's Shrek. But that's not now. That's some other time. But we're talking about My Girl from 1991, starring Anna Chlumsky, Macaulay Culkin, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, Richard Madger, and Jack from American Werewolf in London. That's right. And it basically chronicles the life of an 11-year-old during the summer of 1972. What she does, what she's going through, and everything that happens in her life during that summer. So, yeah. So don't ask me why, but this is a movie I threw on all the time as a kid. I don't know. My grandma had a whole bunch of VHS tapes, stuff she recorded from HBO, which is how I got to Chucky and Child's Play, and then Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was one of them she had. She had The Fugitive, which I didn't overly watch a lot of. They had a lot of stuff they recorded from HBO, because back then it was a regular channel. It was Channel 4 here on whatever cable they had back in the 90s, or the 80s and 90s. Remember that HBO thing? Dun, 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 thing? Now it's just like HBO, It used to be HBO, and I was like, HBO, you know? But, this was one of them. There was a sequel, which I have seen. Never really particularly cared for it. It's discovering more about her mother, which you find out some information on that here, but I don't know. The movie's always been kind of confusing to me. Eventually, through a sequel-a-thon, a tentative sequel-a-thon, it's still not official. Because I'm thinking about holding out the remake-a-thon because I don't know. But, so Veda Saltenfuss, there's a name, is 11 years old in 1972, and she's hanging out with her best friend, Thomas J. Sennett. What's with the names here? Sennett. Played by Macaulay Culkin. And, yeah. So, when we start off, we see that she's bringing a tour of people into... Okay, so they live in a funeral home. The movie Autopsy of a Jane Doe, it's also a house, right? It's a house and a funeral home, funeral parlor, and a house. They live in a funeral parlor. Her dad's a mortician, played by Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd is a mortician. Why do I think that Ray Stantz could go into a mortician business after retiring as a Ghostbuster? It could be a two-way street. He gets the dead bodies, and then he and the others, they bust the ghost of that dead body, and, boom, there it is. I don't know. It's an idea, right? It's an idea. Sure. But, of course, there's no dead body in there, although she tricks them into thinking that her grandmother, Grandmoo, which I didn't realize that Harry, her dad, also calls her Grandmoo, and that she's basically comatose, except for when she's not. She just starts singing show tunes, I guess. But yeah, she's also afraid of death. We find out as, he asks for his cigarettes, and she brings them down, but she doesn't go where the dead body is. She's afraid of death. And we do find out that she thinks that she killed her own mother. Her mother died from complications from childbirth. which happens. Unfortunately, it happens. You know. Although, I feel like in movies and TV, it happens way too much to be realistic, because whenever they want a mother killed off screen, it's either we don't say what it is or they died in childbirth. You know, more often than not, when they want an excuse or a reason, it's that. Oh, she died in childbirth. She died in childbirth. Not every mom can get shot at in the woods like Bambi's mom. Okay? Sometimes I have to die off screen. Sometimes we don't even say what it is they died from. But I like that they do that here. Now, to be perfectly honest, I am a father, right? But I have a son. I do not have a girl. And when I found out I was going to be a father, I prayed and prayed it would be a boy, because to me, I'd just be better at raising a boy. I would have no idea what to do with a girl. Okay, I know what a boy likes. I know the type of things a boy's gonna want to play with, like toys wise. Like, you know, my son, he likes superheroes, Ninja Turtles, Transformers, Power Rangers, all stuff I grew up liking. It's simple, right? I wouldn't know what Barbie's My Little Pony, maybe. I don't know. I have a niece, and she likes sloths. That's all I know. I haven't seen her in 2 years, so almost 2 years. But you know, even then, being around her, we had a connection. I have a connection with kids in our family. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm just a natural father. A natural. I don't know. I've been around like my son, obviously, and then there is my brother and I are 11 years apart. So I basically helped raise him. So I know how that is. My sister, I don't remember much about when my sister was little, other than the stuff that was recorded on a camcorder. My brother, I remember a lot because I was older then. I was 5 when my sister was born. So I don't remember all that stuff. So I would be lost if I ended up having a daughter instead of a son. There's a multiverse out there in which I had a daughter instead of a son, and I went crazy because I had no idea what to do. Although my mom would have been around to help me, but you know, but yeah. So she's going through all that stuff, and something I never realized before. At least I think this is what is happening. She's a hypochondriac, but like to the extreme. And I know that because I'm a hypochondriac, and I'm not as bad as she is. She has like a voiceover saying that she has a chicken bone in her throat, and she claims she has a chicken bone in her throat, but if you had a chicken bone in your throat, you'd be choking on it, wouldn't be able to breathe. I'm just saying, if it's in your throat, it's in your passages, and you'll not be able to breathe if you have one in there. She's constantly going to the doctor, saying she has some sort of illness, because she's around death all the time. Whatever illness they died from, she automatically thinks she's going to get. So it's hyper. What the hell was the word? Why did I forget that word? It's hypochondria to the extreme, which in the 90s was all about extreme. But it's hypochondria to the nth level, man. It's like I get it, and every once in a while, that messes with my anxiety a lot. But it's not as bad as her. Like, every little thing that happens, she's freaking out, and yeah. So we get introduced to things around her. Like, she has this teacher, Mr. Bixler, that she has a crush on. And like I said, it is Jack from American Werewolf in London. I never knew that. This is my first time watching this movie since watching American Werewolf in London, which is a good film. Go check that out. But yeah, I'm like, hey, that's Jack from American Werewolf in London. He's not dead here. He's a teacher that she has a crush on. And it very weird writing where she thinks she and her teacher could be a couple. She's 11. He's in his 30s. I don't get it. But he says that he's hosting creative writing class. Wow, that's hard to say. A creative writing class that's $35 to get in. And she's asking all these questions. Clearly, she wants information so she can join it. And later when she does, he's like, oh, this is for adults. And everyone's like, no, it's fine. We're a bunch of young adults, but we're fine to let an 11-year-old in here, sure. And they go back to it a couple of times, you know. And we see her and her friend Thomas J. They have some sort of connection. Obviously, if the relationship was allowed to continue, it probably would have been more than just best friends. It seemed like they were heading in the direction of growing up and falling in love. I say seemed like it was going in that direction because if you know this movie, you know where this is going. And it's one of the saddest things I've ever seen in a movie ever. One of the earliest things I cried to this and the end of Ghost. I'm going to revisit that one too, so don't worry, I'll talk about that ending. But yeah, those are the two earliest things I remember crying about. This hit me. This may be why I am so deathly afraid of bees, to be honest. We'll get to it, I'm not spoilers. But, so, Jamie Lee Curtis plays... I forgot it. Shelley. Ha! I remembered it. Shelley, who is looking for a makeup job, not realizing it is to put the makeup on the dead people. But she takes it, and she quickly becomes this lead female character in Vada's life. Right? She becomes the very important female character in her life. Not only her life, but her dad's life as well, as she and Harry begin to have feelings for each other, and then that comes across. Now, I gotta say, I've been in Vada's shoes before. Two different times in this movie I can relate to her, okay? So you have a pre-established family. It's you and your parent, and in my case, my sister, and then someone else comes along and completely changes that whole dynamic, and you don't want that to change. You don't want anything to be different than the way it was, especially with me, because I have autism and Asperger's and all that stuff, where I have to have everything a certain way all the time, nothing can change, no diverting from the certain, schedule of sorts. Everything has to go the same way. Not the same way, of course. I don't watch the same thing every day. I don't wear the same clothes every day. Well, as you can tell, I often wear the same shirt for a couple of days in a row. But that's fine because I don't really leave the house with this. I go somewhere, I put on a t-shirt, if I leave the house or the apartment. But Turbo Man is watching me. He says, "Go on already." Okay. Although that's not Arnold, but I don't know. Turbo Man. Anyway, so the hell was I? So yeah, so they sort of. I love the bingo scene. So this confused me at first. So, Shelley is obviously hinting at the fact that she likes Harry, and she's talking to him, and he's like, there's a movie, Love Story, is playing at the drive-in. I love the drive-in. I love movies. I don't get out the movies much. That was the hint, Harry. But he catches the hint, to his credit. He's like, I like bingo, though. I go to church on Wednesdays. I'm going to play at church tomorrow. Come with me if you want. Very smooth. Very smooth. And then we get the pep talk from the brother, who, to be honest, just goes in and out of this movie. He's barely introduced. He's not introduced. He's just there. And he's like, oh, hey, my little brother, gives him a noogie to show that it's his brother. Richard Masur, by the way, is fantastic. Hey, you look at It. You look the original It. He was the grown-up Stan, Even, past the part where they find his dead body, but even the one where his head's, where he's Pennywise, but it's Stan's head. Hey, Wheezy, how's your sex life? What's your sex life? That whole thing. He's good. And then, License to Drive, he's the dad in that. That's a good role. He's great. But he plays the bachelor brother. Although, the second one, he is married. But he plays the bachelor brother. And the tips he gives Harry are the worst tips. Do not follow these. he's like, oh, I get no since the last. Because Harry's like, I haven't dated in 20 years. Since his wife died, which was not 20 years ago, but I'm guessing since he met his wife, he hasn't dated. So, yeah. But, and he's like, well, something happened in between then. A little thing called a sexual revolution. So you can't pull out a chair for a woman. You can't hold the door for him. You can't be all nice to him. And I'm just like, this guy, no wonder this guy is single. Look, sure, the sexual revolution happened, and it's even more prominent today. We need strong female leads. But let me tell you something. The women do still appreciate the pulling out of the chair, the getting the door for them, opening the doors for them. They appreciate all that stuff because it's manners. It's nice for a gentleman to do. What this guy is explaining is just, it's being a jerk, really. And unfortunately, Harry decides to follow his brother's lead. So they get to the bingo, which Veda does follow him. We'll get to the Veda part in a minute. And he goes to let her sit down, and he's like, no, can't do that. And he sits down, she's like, and then later, he comes out and goes to open the door and stops and just stands there. And she has to get out. They do connect in her camper. She lives in a camper, But I think that comes around later. We'll get to it. But anyway, once Veda realizes that her dad is going out with Shelly to bingo, she sneaks out. Nobody else is there to watch. By the way, there's a scene later where he berates her for not watching Gramu. She's left. Well, I guess the brother is there. I guess. But he's not paying attention. It's never brought up that she snuck out. And not for Thomas J either, because she goes over to Thomas J's house and finagles him to come out. She's like, I can't leave after dark. Parents will kill me. In the very next scene, they're at the bingo hall, which I guess is not that far from either of their houses. Must be a small town. Anyway, they're in there and they're playing bingo and they're talking and they get close to kissing, and then she yells, I love this scene too. She yells out, bingo, and the old people are like, there's a bingo, we got a bingo. Dad didn't yell a bingo. That was from outside. What do you know? How do you know? Hey, if you don't, I know you're 200 years old, but I'll kick your wrinkled ass. This movie's PG. And a time where PG meant something. That old guy, I loved him. There is also another scene where Shelly's looking around at all these people. And she's like, I just realized something. Very soon, I'm going to have to do the makeup for all these people. And Harry replies with, why you think these seats were empty? That's dark. That is dark. So obviously, Veda doesn't particularly care for the fact that they're dating. And again, I've been in that situation. Your whole world changes when a new person comes into your life like this. And, it changed in many, many ways, of course. But, you just, you don't want anything to change. And it does, unfortunately. Or fortunately, sometimes it can be good. I've had two different versions of that. Both, one bad and one good. And, the good one outweighs the bad. And I want the, unfortunately, you got too bad before that stopped. But anyway, someone I want to talk about, okay, that I understand in a coming-of-age story about a girl, you're going to go in that route. However, if you're going to do that, I think you need to have an older girl. So they bring up the period thing. She thinks she's hemorrhaging because she hasn't had the talk, which, okay, so my son is 13 and we technically haven't had the talk yet, but I think he's aware of what happens. I think he's aware of the basic concept, so I think he's aware of what that is, because, we watch Legends of Tomorrow. They bring up the word sex, and he hasn't asked, what's that? Because he would, because my son would. So obviously he knows something about it, or his mom has talked to him about it. He knows the basic concept. He has to have, or he would have asked me a million times, and I would have gone, well, oh look, Power Rangers. You know, I'm nervous to have that talk because I know I never really had a talk. No, you know how I knew what sex was? Looking up porn on the internet. Okay, I have no shame. Okay, I have no shame. That's how I found out what it was, because I didn't know what it was, and no one sat me down and talked to me. As much as my mom keeps saying that they did not. I do not remember that talk. It was, it was seeing Skinamax, as the 13-year-old, seeing Skinamax and then going, I want to see more boobies, and going on the internet and looking up videos and then finding out, oh, there's more to that than just bodies laying on each other, and okay, yeah. So no, I never had a full out talk. I did after I got in trouble. Wait till you're 18 before you look up porn. Then do it all you want. I have no shame. Shut up. Anyway. Okay. There we go. Bad Scotty. Ow, that's starting to hurt. Anyway, yeah, they do the period thing. Okay? Now, I'm not a girl, but I feel like 11 is too young to have your period. I mean, look at Carrie, all right? She was 16 when she had her period in all 3 versions. Although Angela Bettis was like in her 20s. But still, the character was 16. Now, I don't know. That's probably not normal. I'm thinking like 13, 14. Because my son hasn't quite started puberty yet. He's got little fuzz hairs on his arms, legs, but nothing too substantial. I'm not gonna get into it, but he's not shaving yet. That's for sure. He's only 12. He's not shaving yet. I ask him, "You shave yet?" No. Okay, let me know. I'll show you how to do it. And he keeps making fun of my bald spot too, and I go, "Oh yeah, that's your future. That's your future." No. He's already got a cowlick back there, so But yeah, so I don't know. I think 11 is too young for that. I don't know. I guess I forgot about that in this movie. I think 11 is too young. I know they wanted to touch that subject in the movie, and for a young girl, that is an important thing to go through. But if they're gonna do that, make her 13, 14. It kind of works better than 11. Like, did Anna Chlumsky know about that before they shot the movie? Was this her introduction to puberty? I sound like I'm going with puberty with my squeaky. I'm just saying. Did Macaulay Culkin know what that was? Alright. Unfortunately, we gotta get to the bad part. It's not bad, but... So, after the puberty thing, they go for a walk in the woods. Shooting little water pistols, and Thomas J. shoots a beehive. I've dealt with bees myself. I had a friend in the hoity-toity side of town when I was younger. His name was Pete. And he had a crabapple patch in his yard. We were messing around, and I fell in one of the patch. And there was bees in there, and I got stung on the ass. And my mom refused to believe that I did. She called it a pimple. I was 10. My son has pimples. Forehead. Oh, little pimple. He's like, shut up. What the hell? Someone's slamming a goddamn door. Alright. Quit slamming a goddamn door. Anyway, so shoots the beehive with a water pistol, knocks it down, bees fly out, and they run into the water, which they say you should actually not do, but it works here. And then they're all wet, and then Veda goes home, but she lost her mood ring, which they point at several times. It's something she got from her mom. It's her mom's mood ring or something. She lost it while they were running. And so, yeah, they're all wet. And she goes home, and they're going to go to carnival. But Shelly's going with. I forgot the 4th of July picnic. Yeah, the 4th of July thing. Shelly's ex-husband showed up. And if you take this out, there really isn't anything that you could take out. Otherwise, it shows that they have been seeing each other for a while. But her ex-husband shows up wanting the camper. And she says it's not his. He says it is. He's like, I got papers to prove. Oh, no, this is something else. Which means that he's full of shit. And Harry punches him in the stomach. And he says, where are you? I'm his brother. He goes, oh, it means you'll be visiting. Huh? Well, because if he comes back here again, I'm going to bury him in the yard. Yeah. Anyway, they go to the carnival and she wins a fish. And she notes that Shelly is wearing a ring on her finger. Turns out Harry proposed and they're getting married. We never see the wedding. They just end up married. I don't know if they get married in between movies, maybe. I don't know. We never see the wedding. Yeah, and I gotta relate to her again. They tell her, and she changes the subject, which is, you ever think that maybe Veda might be autistic? She changes the subject so that she gets away from having to deal with it, which is what I would do. You ever think she might be autistic? Could be. It could be. Because, I have a lot of connections to her in this movie. Just saying. But yeah, obviously though it is affecting her, as it would. She doesn't like this. She has a new mother figure in her life. She, all that stuff. So she eventually runs away, and her and Thomas J meet at the willow tree where they're talking, and she decides to go home. And now we got to talk about that part. Thomas J decides to so they do talk. And he does say, if this doesn't work out with Mr. Bixler, will you think of me to be your boyfriend? And they do share their first kiss together. And in the first time you watch this, it probably won't affect you. But on subsequent rewatches, knowing what's about to happen, you can see what they were trying to do. Set this up. So Vader goes home, and Thomas J. Speaking again. I can never watch this scene. Every time I watch this movie, after the first time I watched it, I have to turn away. I can't. He goes back to the woods to find the ring, but in doing so, he kicks the beehive, thinking it's empty. Well, it's not. But he does find the ring. However, they've explained that Thomas J is one of those characters that is allergic to everything. Like earlier, they established, when he's allergic to chocolate. When Shelly offers him chocolate, he's allergic, which would suck. So he can't have it. Well, he gets stung to hell by these bees. And something I thought of this time is, why doesn't he run? Why does he stand there? I know there's a lot of them. Why doesn't he try to run back to the river? Why doesn't he run? Why doesn't he run? Why does he just stand there? Why doesn't he? Why doesn't he run? Why does he just? Why doesn't he? Why error? Why? So we cut back to the Saltonfuss house with a cop arrives to tell Harry the bad news, and then why didn't he move? Why? I'm broken. Sorry. What? Why? What? So Harry goes up to talk to her, and he said, Thomas J. last night he got a little mess with the beehive, and she's like, well, I told him to leave those bees alone. I should go over and punch him. He's like, you can't do that. And he's allergic to bees, and he didn't. And then we see one of her doctor visits, and she's claiming she got stung by bees. I think that's a little too far for the hypochondria. I understand what they're trying to do with this. Like when someone dies, she feels what they went through, but doesn't die from it. And if that scene wasn't sad enough, we get the scene. So I skipped over another scene with Gramu. That's why she runs off, because she's too. She's distracted by something else, and Gramu starts singing a song in front of a funeral, and that's why she gets yelled at and runs off. That's what leads to talking with Thomas J. and the kiss and everything. Anyway, the scene where she runs up to the casket and she's complaining, where's his glasses? He can't see without his glasses. It's heartbreaking, man. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. It's why didn't you move? It confounds me. I know they needed the character to die, but it confounds me that this character, after being told by Vader earlier to run to the water, just stands there and lets the bees get him. I understand there's a lot. But, I know that your parents will say, oh, if a bee comes up to you, just stand there. Not if they're swarming you. If they're swarming you, run the fuck out of there. He should have ran. But we gotta have this character death to add to what Vader is going through. And then everything comes crashing down after this. After the funeral, she runs off and she goes to Mr. Bistler's house and she confesses her love for him, and she finds out he has a fiance. So that's another down the thing. And I've been ignoring the scenes where she goes to the writing class because I don't really care for them. You take them out. They're not really important other than to add to this Mr. Bixler stuff. And then the movie ends, I guess. Harry runs into the mom. It's a little time later, and the mom gives him. So Harry is sort of despondent to everything. He's doesn't comfort her or anything, and shows that you have to comfort her, you have to talk to her, and all that stuff. But Mrs. Sennett does give the ring back. Apparently, he had the ring when they found the body. It was awful quick that they found him. Like it would be like, oh, he didn't come home. It was like, no, last night he got into trouble with the bees. Like it's like they knew where he was, I guess. I don't know. But basically, it just goes. How's it end? Like she has a talk with Shelly, and then she leaves with her friend, and the song plays. She gets the ring back, of course. That's in the second one. But yeah, it just sort of ends after all this. Like everything it's building up, it's revealed. That the teacher who's like 25 years older than she is, 20 years older than she is, has a fiance. Her best friend died. She accepts Shelly is part of her family now, and yeah, it's, you know. So the movie ends with the song, "My Girl." I always forget that it plays at the end and not the beginning. But yeah, it's a very 70s looking movie. It's very good. I'm gonna give it I'll give it a very high. Pretty good. It's one I used to watch all the time. I don't watch it as much as I used to. I think it's the girl stuff that's just like, okay, it's something to put on when I was younger. I don't know, I don't know. I was just drawn to it, I guess. But yeah. So, what are your thoughts on My Girl? Let me comment, so share, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.